Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Align Your Mind. And we have a treat for you today. It's Jonathan, and I'm here today with Fernando. And we have a very fun episode. This is a special episode because we're going to talk about our holiday traditions. If you celebrate Christmas, happy Christmas Eve. We're excited to be with you today. And if you're listening to this on Christmas by chance, Merry Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate. We want you to know that we want to say happy Kwanzaa, happy late Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And for everyone, happy New Year, because this will be our last episode before the new year. And Fernando, just in case they don't know you, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Jonathan, thank you very much for having me here today. I am Fernando. I'm also in Mindful Me. I actually have my own podcast series with the Jake, The Need to Heed. I have actually been absent from that one, and I'm pretty sure, Jonathan, you covered a couple of my podcasts because I was out of town away. But I'm very excited to be here. Like Jonathan said, happy holidays from all of us here at Mindful Me. We are very excited to give you guys the last podcast of 2020. So without further ado, Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, for me, everywhere I go, it's been the holiday. It's been a different holiday spirit because I don't know about you guys, but on my street, there's been a little bit less decorations than last year. The malls, they're just as busy, but it seems like it's a different mood that's been around. So I just want to kind of do holiday kind of traditions and kind of how we remain mindful with everything that's going on during this time. I mean, there's all the pressure about getting the right gifts, the pressure about seeing family members that you haven't maybe seen in a while, and just like the pressure of the holiday season. I There's a few movies on Netflix like Holiday and things like that nature, where it just seems like some people thrive during the holidays because they get to spend this time with family and friends and all that nature. But there's a real gap in loneliness, well, for some people as well, just because you see all these people really happy on social media, but then that also doesn't represent a lot of the things. So that's what we just kind of want to go through. I'm going to start with a few traditions that I have, and then Fernando, jump in whenever you want. But
Of course.
the few traditions that we have in my family is today's Christmas Eve, and every year we go under the tree and we open one gift Christmas Eve. And then when we were little kids, we always would wait for Santa to deliver the rest of the gifts. And that's something I really enjoy on doing on Christmas Eve. It's just a humbling experience whenever you open one gift because it's like a little teaser for everything else. But Fernando, what about you?
So unlike you, Jonathan, my tradition, or at least my family tradition that I've always done is we have a big family dinner on Christmas Eve and actually wait until midnight. And at midnight, we actually open all of our gifts after obviously Santa delivers. At midnight, we actually just stay up until then. And instead of, a lot of people wait till the morning and wake up to the gifts, we go to bed or sometimes go to bed depending on how excited we are after opening all our gifts. So that's a really fun and exciting tradition that I have with my family, at least. But yeah, like you were saying, a lot of traditions are being altered and affected due to the situations. Obviously, all of that Christmas shopping and that type of stuff. A lot of it moved to online this year. I'm sure you had to buy a lot of your gifts online, Jonathan.
Yeah, I know for sure. I definitely got a few of my sisters.
So Christmas shopping for the family and all that type of stuff was very different this year. This is actually the first year I'm not spending it with my entire family because obviously flight restrictions and stuff like that. Not everyone was able to come down to celebrate, but obviously, hopefully, this all changes by next year and we get to have a normal Christmas again.
Yeah, for my family, my typically my aunt from Georgia and my cousin and that entire gang would come down to South Florida, and then sometimes my aunt up in New York would come down, and that's like kind of completed my dad's side of the immediate family per se. We used to always spend Christmas together. I remember like we'd always eat breakfast, like we just basically spend the whole week together essentially, and then we go over to
Of
some of
course.
my family's house in Pembroke Pines and things of that nature. And now it's just so different because it's just the people who live here, and that's really who we should be celebrating it with. But it's kind of also like a chance to kind of step back, and I think I took that for granted last year or the few years that
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of the times we're guilty of it when a bunch of family comes. You just want your own space and stuff. and you take it for granted that they're all there and like all there. And instead of saying, "Oh yeah, my sister's came," it's, "Oh geez, my sister's came. They're annoying me." But no, now we see how it's like to be missing the family. So obviously it gives us a lot to look forward to in the future, and realize that not everything is as easy as it is typically, and to actually be grateful for it.
Yeah. On the point of gratefulness, I mean, whenever we talk about mindful me and some of the things that we've been able to accomplish this year, I know Jake and I kind of talked about that last episode for the Need to Heed podcast that you're on, Fernando. But just to kind of talk about to be grateful, I mean, for those of you guys that are listening and may be lonely this holiday season, or trying to find outlets on how you can reach your family, I mean, all of our mindful me board meetings, we used to have them in person, they moved to Zoom. I mean, that's an obvious one, but there's also just little things like there's interactive like Netflix that you guys can watch with the family together. I know there's URLs for that if you Google them. Places have been putting on like everything virtually, like interactive that you can do. But it's just a lot of fun things that are going on. And I know this is my family used to go to church every Christmas Eve. This is the first time we didn't go to church, which is really weird for us, just because we always like Christmas Eve is the day like we reserve like 5 p.m. slot. We go to church, but I mean, a church is also like a feeling of family. And if you guys haven't been able to, and you guys are typically doing that, and that's making you feel lonely, there's definitely venues where they're like social distancing and things of that nature to try to figure it out. But on a point of mindfulness, I mean, Fernando and I, we record meditation sometimes, and that just helps you get in the right mindset of being more aware of like everything you could do. But yeah, Fernando, what else do you suggest?
Of course, I mean, just staying in touch. Obviously, in person we can't too much, but uh, stay in touch with your friends. I mean, always call them, contact them. There's many ways this day and age with the technology. I mean, Jonathan and I, we can FaceTime, we can call, we can text, we can Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it is. Just don't be lonely in the sense of just because you can't physically see your friends and family, don't let that stop you from interacting with them in other ways, like you were saying with the Netflix and stuff. But just overall, texting them, calling them, just staying up to date, socializing as much as you can, obviously within the limitations of everything that's happening. Just staying active in that sense, because it does get stressful, it does get annoying, and like you do get lonely if you don't. But just make it work with what you have, because hopefully, and this is only temporarily, obviously. So yeah, just stay in touch with your friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that is a great point. And just to kind of segue, I mean, Christmas and everything. It also, it means it's close, getting really close to the end of the year. So, Fernando, why don't you just like me and you will go back and forth, kind of recapping. Why don't you like just start at the beginning of the year, probably like before the virus hit? What do you think at that point was like the high point of your year?
The high point of this year was definitely getting through high school and finishing that off and getting into the college that I am going to. That was my high point. It was a big step in life overall, a big maturing step in the sense of it's no longer high school. You're doing bigger things. You're going into college. A lot of us are moving out, not living with your family anymore and stuff like that. So for me, it was definitely that, going the transition from high school to college, although it wasn't the transition I was waiting for and expecting because of the pandemic. The transition overall in terms of changing schools and stuff like that had to have been my highest point. Also, changing work, I actually had to travel for work for a couple of months, which was also a big thing. That was during the pandemic. However, that was just a big change, I guess you can say, overall for this year. But besides that, I mean, everything else with Mindful Me was huge. The high point of our virtual summit was amazing. We had a great turnout. Just like the transitioning from school, it wasn't as planned. It wasn't our plan to do it virtually at all. But we always do have to adjust, and that's the only way to keep moving, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think you hit it on the head right there. For me, I would just think, my senior year was this year, so it's just a little different than I expected, so much like the end of Fernando's senior year. But you know, getting it through all the college applications, I was able to help a lot of friends with college applications. I consider that a high point, just being able to like, you know, help people through the process. And most importantly, I got into quite a few of the colleges that I've applied to, and been getting some pretty deals that have been making me really content, that I've been able to really try to start planning the future with. And that's definitely been the high for me. And on the state of mindful me, we weren't we were a company last year, but now we have a full online platform with over 50 meditations. We launched school tools are being implemented in the Florida Department of Education, the sixth largest school district in the nation, Broward County Public Schools. We've been presenting for a multitude of times. We're working with the state social emotional learning board. There's just so much good things that are happening, and it's been going so fast that almost seems like as it didn't as it almost seems as if it didn't happen, when we're going in so many different directions, and it's so cool to see with everything that's going on. And we have these podcast series. We just added a new one with Michael Held and Paige Held, and it's called the Monthly Check-In. That's a great one. And you know, meeting new people, as weird as it sounds, online can kind of give you a venue to kind of start networking with people all around the state and nation. At least for Mindful Me, we're now on a state like on a state board, and that's really because of the pandemic. It created new opportunities, and now you're no longer just limited to, you know, for us it'd be Fort Lauderdale or Broward County. It's not that hard. Where instead of, you know, if you wanted to talk to someone in Tampa, you kind of had to be integrated into the Tampa schooling system. Now we're reaching out to people in Tampa and they're using our resources, Ocala, Orlando, things of that nature. And that's definitely been a high point, especially for Mindful Me as we're expanding our online resources. It's definitely been really cool to see. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, we're on radio.com now. I mean, our resources are just
No, yeah.
flourishing.
I mean, you mentioned high points, but honestly, it's all in the perspective of how you look at it. Because even the low points, the in-person summit not happening. I mean, yeah, you can look at it in one way and say, oh, that's a low point, but that's also a high point. I mean, we transformed that into an amazing virtual summit that hits so many people that maybe if it was in person, a lot of people couldn't have attended. So you have to think about it and see it in different ways to make sure that you do look at it in the best way possible, and don't look at anything as your low points for the year. Just rephrase them, reword them, reconsider them, and make them high points.
Yep. I think that phrasing that you just used is something that Mr. Katz says a lot and Alexa says a lot, and then we learned from our friend Lisa Goodwin. Change one word, change your life. And I think that's how we got through this year. Was we just had to keep pushing forward, and there's a light at the end of all of this. And fingers crossed, everyone and your loved ones will get through it. And on behalf of Fernando, myself, and the entire Mindful Me board, happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you guys celebrate that, and Happy New Year. Next week, we are having a podcast with Michael Held and Paige Held, the monthly check in. And we have a few special meditations coming out on Christmas Day and on New Year's Day. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for joining this Align Your Mind episode. Remember, whatever the mind,
Thank you for having me.
of course, Fernando. Thank you for joining us. And remember, whatever the mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve. It's Jonathan, and
Fernando, and thank you guys.
bye, guys. Have a great new year.